What's up, people? This is William Jones making videos about leaving religion. The purpose of the videos is to make you think. Turn your brains on and start to think. And use logic and use reason to realize religion is fake. Now for this video, considering what I've been seeing online and comments and what have you, this video is about the, let's say, the historical Jesus. Let's say that, the historical Jesus. And I'm going to totally clarify what I'm talking about here. Now, a lot of Christians falsify information. This is nothing new. They've done it since the beginning. They've had forgeries and falsified things, always trying to make their narrative fit in actual history when it doesn't. Now let's go here. There's like really no extra biblical mentions of Jesus outside of the Bible and history. And if there is a Jesus mention, it's never clear that it was some Messiah from some little small town that was doing miracles and what have you. So let me clear this up. You'll have let's say Christian apologists, which in short an apologist is a Christian, like a professional Christian who will lie to make the Christian narrative appear real. That's what they really are. They don't use facts, they lie to try to make the Bible fit. And it doesn't. If it says one thing, they'll lie to say that's not really what it's saying. It's really saying this. But whenever they want to quote it, then it's saying this. But when you say, but it says this, their job is to lie and make it fit and say something else. That's what apologists do. That's even when I was coming out, the last thing I wanted to read was anything written by Christians, because they don't tell the truth. Christians lie to make their narrative and their Jesus real. I read actual historical things of people who wanted to tell the truth, who had nothing to gain. You know, if you can't ask a pastor, is Jesus real? He's going to lie. He's not going to research anything. Without researching anything, he's going to tell, oh, Jesus is real. Don't you feel him in your heart? And all this. We got the Bible and, oh, that's enough, Pastor. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't know anything. He's not going to research anything. But let me be clear with this. Like, I seen a video. Of course, the Christian lied and said, all scholars agree that Jesus was a historical person. That's a lie. You know how I know that's a lie? I got books in there written by scholars that don't agree Jesus was historical at all. So that's a lie when they say all scholars agree that Jesus was historical. That is a bold-faced lie. And then the one they always gonna bring up, the one person they always bring up is former Christian professor at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill of Religious Studies, Bart Ehrman. Bart Ehrman used to be a Christian until he really researched it and realized this stuff is not real, and he came out. It was a big deal when he came out and said, I don't believe this stuff. But Bart Ehrman believes that Jesus was still a historical person. So you'll always hear Christians jump on this. Well, you know, scholar, I gotta say that, scholar Bart Ehrman said that Jesus was real. Now let's clarify what they mean when they say Jesus was historical. This is what they mean when they say Jesus was historical. They mean there was a guy, because there was many of them, let's say it was many of these guys, but this one particular guy who was a rebel against the system of Rome. And he led a revolt and had a few followers follow him. Rome got tired of him, and Rome put him to death by crucifixion, as that was the way Rome killed thousands of people. Not just some mythical Jesus, but the way they killed. That was their method of killing. Pontius Pilate killed thousands of people when he came to take rule in the region where he was as the prefect. So he had already done that. That was what Rome did. They crucified you. That was their means of death. So this so-called rebel, you know, was captured and put to death, and he had a few followers who some later fabricated his story. They fabricated his story. Oh, he was the born of a virgin. You know, it's a whole story. We know that's about astrology anyway, but things got fabricated about the person, and it's not real. Okay? what's his name? Alexander the Greek was supposed to be what, the son of Zeus. His mother got pregnant by Zeus. And we know Alexander the Greek was real. Not Alexander the Great, Alexander the Greek. And he was a real historical person who claimed to be born of Zeus. Where even in the Bible where it talks about, don't talk about foolish genealogies that leads to, senselessness or whatever it is the Bible might say about it. And people be like, well, when people talk about genealogies, you don't understand. They were talking about, people were claiming to be descendants of gods, Greek gods. And so those were the genealogies they spoke of, which was the same thing Alexander had done, which was the same thing, let's say Flavius Titus had his father deified, so he could become the son of God, the actual real Jesus of the Bible. What's his name? Ptolemy the first Soter, who was one of Alexander's generals who took over Egypt, had himself deified, and they made the god Serapis, where they combined the gods Osiris and Apis to make Serapis. So that was a common thing, all right? Now, but let me get back to this. When they say Jesus was historical, that's what they meant. Some rebel that got killed by Rome and his followers fabricated his story. They are not saying, when they say this, that this Jesus did these things in his Bible. They are not saying he was born of a virgin. They're not saying that, he turned water to wine and healed all of these people. They're not saying any of that. That's not what they're saying. They're just saying it was some historical person who was a rebel that got killed. End of story. Everything in the gospel, scholars will tell you that stuff ain't true. That stuff is make-believe. That stuff doesn't happen in real life. It's make-believe. The Gospel of Mark, which is where Luke and Matthew stole all of their material, is clearly a stage play. Anytime, it didn't even start with Jesus' birth. Go look for yourself. Read the beginning of Mark. It starts with the baptism of a sinful man by John the Baptist. No, Jesus was without sin. What was John baptizing for? The remission of sins. So why would Jesus show up? Because he was being baptized for his sins. And in the midst of being baptized for his sins, God put the Christ spirit on him, story form only, put the Christ spirit on him and then said, this is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased. So begins the story, the stage play. That's why the writer knows the thoughts of the people. That's why people were by themselves, Jesus praying by himself and telling you word for word what he said. That's why Pontius Pilate and Jesus are alone. They're telling you what they said. That's why Pontius Pilate and his wife are together and she's talking about a dream she had, but this stuff is recorded. The reason why this stuff is the way it is because it's a stage play. It's not real, it's just a story. That's all it is. So when people say Jesus was historical, that has nothing to do with the Gospels. That has nothing, matter of fact, that has nothing to do with the New Testament. They are not saying the New Testament is real. They're just saying there was a rebel that rebelled. End of story. And there are other ones more famous than the so-called Jesus who stood out more than him. But you only know about the Jesus one because of the Bible. Check it out for yourselves. I'm going to just stop this video right here. I'm done with it. I'll hit y'all back later with something else. Y'all take care out there. Peace.